We are back live once again with another Johnny Torch Live broadcast, number 79 edition. This week we're bringing you Torch News Roundup number 89. Oh yes, 89. We are back on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live. If you were expecting the This Week in Comic Book Television episode that we usually air on Saturday, not going to happen this week, unfortunately, because I haven't finished watching all the episodes of the shows. Having completed Cobra Kai this week, yes. If you didn't notice, on Wednesday we didn't do a Torch News Roundup. We did a Cobra Kai review. So it's a spoiler review. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on Cobra Kai, be sure and check that out. We're going to talk Cobra Kai Season 2 a little bit in a few moments here. But first, shameless plug territory. We are exactly 1 week away from my appearance at PillCon 2018, the second annual PillCon. I'm pleased to say that they've extended me the invitation, and I have spent a lot of time gathering and creating goodies to bring on this trip. So come on down and let me sign a copy of Bullets Bourbon for you and get your free goodies. Everybody likes swag, so get your swag and I'll send you away with full hands. Of course, it's all about the adventures of Bullets Bourbon. My comic book, the greatest comic book action adventure series ever known to mankind. Of course, I might be a little biased, but we're just going to have a good time. So come on down to the Peabody Institute Library next week on Saturday between the hours of 10 and 4 o'clock. I'm doing this all with no preparation because I pretty much have these dates and locations burned into my brain at this point from reminding you on a weekly basis. But it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing as many of you as will turn out to this great event, and I'm sure it'll be a good one. It's the PillCon second annual convention, so wasn't there last year, but I'm glad to be able to get in on this at the earliest showings that they've had here. These shows are going to be really exciting. They've said that they already sold more tickets than the previous year, the first year. So it's only going to get bigger, and I'm just thrilled as can be to be a part of it. So check out my link in the description below. You will find the link to my website, which also on the front page has all the information you need about the location, the time, the dates, and also, you can check out my next appearance, which will be in June for the Kids Con, which will be June 10th at the Radisson Hotel in New Hampshire, Nashua, New Hampshire. And yeah, next week, Peabody, Massachusetts, the Peabody Institute Library. Very excited to be a part of it, and I hope to see you there. Also, check out the link in the description below for my Twitter page. You'll get all the information about everything you want to know about that, as I've been tweeting about that the past couple of days. Because I tweeted some of the links that the PillCon people have asked me to tweet in order to get the information out there to people. So if you don't check the website, you can check it out on Twitter, the only social media that I use, basically, besides YouTube, of course. So yeah, once again, very excited, and as you might expect, there's probably not going to be a Torch News Roundup next week. I mean, a video on Saturday. I'm going to probably do something on Monday. I'm probably going to do This Week in Comic Book Television on Monday this week, and then probably Monday the following week, with probably some video on Wednesday. That's my schedule. I try to keep to Wednesdays, Saturdays, and sometimes Mondays if I can't get the video done for This Week in Comic Book Television. But of course, that is next week. We have a show for you tonight. And of course, tomorrow is Mother's Day. So let me say Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there a little bit early. And I hope you have a good day. All right, but I had the greatest time last week with the Torch News Roundup. And we are going to try to recapture that excitement, that enthusiasm very here today. And so far, I've been doing a bang-up job, but I am prepared. I am prepared. Here we go. Let's take a look at our first topic here. And this whole first half of the show is like a tribute to the 80s because a lot of 80s favorites are coming back. and of course, I've already come back. But first, let's take a look at that Rambo 5 rumor. This is a little more than rumor. It is being confirmed that Rambo 5, Sylvester Stallone's very own John Rambo, coming back to the big screen. Rambo 5 will begin shooting next September. Stallone himself is working on the script with Avi Lerner, who has paired up with the actor on several occasions in movies such as The Expendables, and will produce the new film of the Rambo franchise. It might be directed by Stallone himself, but it has yet to be confirmed. According to Deadline, in this new episode of the franchise, Rambo will cross the border between the U.S. and Mexico after learning that the daughter of one of his friends has been kidnapped by Mexican cartels. All right, so this is apparently what the next big thing Rambo has to go after. Upon his arrival in Mexico, the veteran of the Vietnam War will find himself fighting one of the most violent drug cartels in the country. So yeah, that's basically it. For my history with Rambo, the first one's a great movie. Second one even better. Third one was pretty boring, really. I mean, I don't know if I want to say it was bad, but it was boring. And the fourth one I couldn't watch at all. It was just too, it was ultra violent. Grindhouse, I guess is what they call that style, with people's heads exploding and stuff. Nah, 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 nah. So I'm guessing this is probably going to be that same kind of intense, overly violent, ultra violent style. So I don't know. I can't say that this is actually of interest to me, but I passed the news along because I really did enjoy the original, or the first two at least, films of the franchise. Like I said, I like Rambo, technically First Blood Part 2, Rambo. The fourth movie is just called Rambo. But Rambo 2, I like that one the best. That was the most action heavy and the most, it set the standard really for 80s action films. There were so many, copycats of the Rambo style after that film, because it was a real exciting film. First one, of course, is much more a drama. That's basically the way 80s formulas played out back then. The first film was some kind of drama with action elements that, was enough to keep you entertained. The second one would be like all out action, and so on and so forth, until the franchise would sort of fall apart under its own weight. The third film, as I said, was kind of boring. I tried to get through it again a couple of months ago, maybe a year ago when it was on cable. Again, I don't know. Part of that film, of course, I could do a whole show on just the Rambo films, but of course, there's a long history with that film where time is really what wasn't kind to that film, of course, because it was Rambo takes on the Russians because he's siding with the Afghanistan, rebels or whatever. But then, of course, come to find out, now we have more trouble with, the Afghanistan rebels than we do with Russia. So, time was not really friendly to that film, and it wasn't even at that point, because things had changed drastically in the 6 months in between the time the film was shot and the time the film was released. But ultimately, I just think it was like a more boring film. They kind of tried to make it an epic. The highlight, of course, being Colonel Troutman getting captured. That was sort of the highlight. I remember I bought the soundtrack for that one because after seeing Rambo 2, and the soundtrack was so great in that movie, and I love to collect soundtracks, of course. If you don't know, I collect soundtracks to great scores of films. And I remember getting that one because you couldn't get Rambo 2. In those days, your local Strawberries, if they didn't have it, you were out of luck. There was no internet, of course, in the late 80s and so forth. So not being able to get my hands on Rambo 2, I waited for Rambo 3 to come out, which was a couple of years later, and I tried to pick it up. And when I did, I was disappointed to find out that they really watered down the theme on that film. I remember reading in the liner notes as well that the score, I think it was Jerry Goldsmith still, he said that they didn't want to lean on the action theme, the Rambo theme, too often in the film. So basically you hear that theme maybe twice during the whole movie. Da, na, 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 which is a great theme, but it wasn't in Rambo 3 all that much, which was disappointing. Of course, I did get, what is it? The guy from the Righteous Brothers singing Gain Heavy's My Brother, which was sort of the theme song because of Rambo going back for Troutman. So that was kind of the highlight of the film, Rambo going back for Troutman. And Troutman, of course, Richard Crenna always getting those great lines. I should hasten to add right here that we've got a tribute to Richard Crenna in the most recent issue of The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, issue 4, the Street of Dreams. Check it out in the link in the description below. And it's where Bullets Bourbon is pressed into service by a secret government organization. And the character, the main operative there, has a striking similarity to Richard Crenna, but it's just a, sort of a parodied version, of course. All right, so let me think. Let me hear what you think. Do you think this is a good idea, having Rambo going south of the border to Mexico, see, and taking on drug cartels? This is a little bit different than what we've seen originally. Well, Rambo took on basically the hillbilly sheriff there in the first film, so I guess sort of a small scale type thing might not be too much out of the franchise's lore, but let me know what you think about Rambo 5. Okay. All right, next up, let's see. We're sticking with the 80s theme here. We've got news breaking on the front of a brand new sequel, the long-awaited sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. This is the third film in the franchise that these guys have been trying to get off the ground since, geez, I was probably, I don't know, 18 years old when the last I heard they were going to make a, they've been trying to do this basically since 5 years after Bogus Journey, I think. Let's put it that way. So this one will be called Bill and Ted Face the Music. And I got a snippet here of an interview with co-writer Ed Solomon. Now living as middle-aged family men who long ago gave up their dreams of rock and roll stardom, we learned that William Sadler's character Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey will be returning. That's interesting. Just for, another sidebar here for my take on it, I was a very big fan of the original Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, not so much. This is another one where it's kind of like they kind of spiraled the whole thing out of control, and it, in a way, you don't want to have to remake the original film, and I can see taking it in a different direction, but I don't know. You have, I don't know, Bill was getting chased by the Easter Bunny, and his grandmother, who he played, Bill Winter played. I don't know. And Ted, what was this part of the story? I don't know. I haven't seen it in a couple of years because I just can't bring myself to see it again, to be totally honest with you. I mean, there were some good scenes, there were some good moments, let's put it that way, that I thought I remember being pretty funny, particularly with Station and some of that stuff that was going on. But pretty much, I think that soured a lot of people on Bill and Ted, was that it really wasn't that great, the sequel. And I know it has its fans, and I'm not trying to say that it's so bad that, it alone burned the franchise to the ground, but it didn't really have that spark the first one did. All right, so co-writer Ed Solomon says, this is not, hey, let's all cash in on the Bill and Ted thing for money. This is the opposite. We love these characters. They've been with us our whole lives. Chris and me and Alex, well, that's his name. I said Bill Winter. I mean Alex Winter, excuse me. Alex and Keanu, and we wanted to visit them again as middle-aged men. We thought it would be really fun and funny and sweet. The middle-aged Bill and Ted, again, I guess spoilers if you don't want to know a whole lot about what the plot's going to be, but, who knows when we're going to get this film. I just hope it comes out. But Bill and Ted are visited by somebody from the future, which that's going to be interesting because, of course, Richard Carlin has passed on a couple of years now, And he was Rufus very memorably in the first film. In the second film, they got around it by having Rufus in disguise, which was kind of a cop-out, I thought, because it was sort of like, well, we can't pay George Carlin, boatloads of money, so let's just have him cameo at the end of the movie. That didn't sit well with me either, but obviously he can't be in this film, so there's only one of two things that could happen. It's going to be some kind of, gimmick. Maybe it's like son of Bill and Ted from the future or something, of son of Bill or Ted, I mean. And either that or they could do like the CGI character like Grand Moff Tarkin and Rogue One and just CGI that sucker. Just get George Carlin back as a CGI character and have some, voiceover magician perform the dialogue. Of course, you'd have to get Carlin's estate on with it. I don't know. So anyway, somebody from the future tells them you have 24 hours. The fate of all space-time depends on a song you've written, and if it doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen. So in their desperation, they decide their only option is to go to the future to when they have written it and to steal it from themselves. What follows is a kind of utterly absurd Christmas Carol-like journey through their lives, past, present, and future. That does sound pretty cool. That actually sounds pretty interesting. I think probably this could be comparative to Back to the Future Part 2, where you have, Marty going back to his previous adventure in the 50s, then going to the future and back and forth or whatever. It could be something like that. All right, he continues. It's been 30 years. Let's be real about the passage of time. We want to maintain the tone, the sweetness, the absurdity, and we want it to be a movie that is not just for fans of the first movie, but hopefully for people of any age who haven't seen the movies. But most importantly, we want it to be something unique, something people haven't seen before. Also, we think it's really cool to take characters you last saw as teenagers and explore them again as middle-aged men. What would that be like? Okay, so he also goes on to say here, look, there's emotion in it, but I think it's really ultimately about two of the most joyful characters that I certainly have ever been involved with. Characters who have had life hit them hard and who are able to not just maintain, but reinvigorate their joy, their spirit. Solomon said they hope to go into production after Keanu Reeves finishes filming John Wick 3. We don't have a specific start date yet, but I think we're probably looking at this year. So this doesn't sound like it's too far off. This might not be too far away if they can get all their ducks in order. So what do you think about this? What do you think? Is Bill and Ted better left a product of its time, or will this actually be fun seeing them go back as the middle age? See, this is what I liked about Bill and Ted, was sort of what he touched on, was their innocence. They're not like stoners, even though they play the like brainless sort of buffoons, but there's an innocence to them. And to see them, take that act to 50-year-old men would probably be pretty amusing. Again, Keanu has made a pretty big career for himself, so I can only imagine that he's made it so big now that he wants to be able to stop and, reconnect with the film that pretty much put him on the map. And then, of course, you've got Alex Winter, who, of course, a great producer and writer and director. And I don't know. Like I said, I hope they can recapture some of the fun of the first film, because the first film was clearly the best and my favorite, where you had just the simple, naivety of, them getting characters, people from the past and bringing them to the future and trying to get their help on, their history test. There was just like a sweet simplicity to it that was really cool. And, I remember as a kid, basically, after Bogus Journey, I was disappointed. But they kind of kept it going in Marvel Comics with a Bill and Ted comic series, which I thought was actually really good. I'd like to go back and see if I can dig up those issues. I got them somewhere in a box somewhere, but I remember reading them over and over again back when I was a teenager, and they kind of captured what was best about Bill and Ted. And of course, they played more with the craziness of the second film with Demonos, I think that was his name, and of course, Death and Station and all that crazy stuff. But they seemed to do it in a sort of sweet, good-natured way that was a lot of fun. And it would be cool if they actually get those same writers back. I don't know who they are. I haven't read the books in ages, but I remember being quite fond of how they captured that Bill and Ted sort of, like I said, sort of simplicity, which was very nice. All right, so let me know what you think about Bill and Ted Face the Music. And let's hope it actually gets made. All right, next up, let's see here. Let us turn our attention to the superhero genre now. Okay, we will first take a look at the Man of Steel 2 movie is being rumored to hit theaters in 2020, which means that they've got basically a year and a half now to make the movie. Apparently, they want, Warner Brothers wants to fast track a Man of Steel movie now, and the rumors have been that Henry Cavill is going to make an appearance in Shazam, which is due out for April of next year, and that after that he is going to get a new contract to play Superman, for the foreseeable future, which I think is good. I like Henry Cavill. I just think that he hasn't been given great material to work with. I think Justice League was a step in the right direction. That was a lot of fun. I still like that movie. I unabashedly love that movie. It's a lot of fun, and I think that's the closest we've come so far in the DC universe, the DCEU, that has, in some ways, captured the DC characters. Everybody felt pretty much the way they were supposed to feel. I mean, you can make a case the Flash was a little too goofy. You can make a case that maybe Aquaman was a little dude bro, but pretty much everybody was in character. So, I'm hoping that this is going to work out. Will they get it out in time for this 2020 release that they're scheduling? I don't know. Are they going to have to fast track it? I don't know exactly what the storyline is going to be either, because last we left with Justice League, they wanted to make a league of their own, the Legion of Doom, and Lex Luthor was spearheading this with Deathstroke. And then, of course, we had the Batman movie, which was going to feature Deathstroke, which was aborted by what was his name? Reeves, the director. I can't remember his first name. Matt Reeves. And after that, we pretty much have heard nothing on the Batman front. And now it seems like they can't get anything going with Batman. They're going to turn back once again to Superman. And that's been their mainstay, basically, Warner Brothers. They've made Batman and Superman movies, and that's pretty much kept them successful. So they're not going to totally abandon Superman. I knew that from the beginning. A lot of people were like, well, after Batman v Superman and the mixed reaction to Man of Steel, they were going to kind of drop Superman. Nah, they ain't going to drop Superman. That's crazy talk. But let me know what you think. What do you think? Is Warner Brothers right to fast track Man of Steel 2? I think it is a smart idea. I think it's great to get Henry Cavill back and hopefully, build upon what we accomplished correctly in Justice League. Just build on that. Just get that kind of Superman in the movies again. And we won't have any more problems with detractors. It's never too late to just turn course, turn the ship around and, right the ship, as it were. All right, next up we've got some scandalous subject here with Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn movie. Now, this is apparently the next project. This is the project that nobody really knows exactly what it's going to be, because there's so many Harley Quinn movies that are being pitched. We've heard the Harley Quinn solo movie that is supposedly being produced by Margot Robbie, the lovely Margot Robbie. We have the Birds of Prey movie, which is supposedly going to feature Harley. We've got the Gotham City Sirens, which was supposed to be more of a anti-hero or villain movie with Harley, potentially with Catwoman, Poison Ivy. We've got the Joker and Harley movie, which was going to be some kind of, I don't know if it was a Bonnie and Clyde film or if it was supposed to be uh, kind of a War of the Roses movie where they were going to be attacking each other. I don't think that was ever very solidly established either way. And I think there was even one more. What was the other one? Oh, Suicide Squad 2, of course, which I think is a go. That's been greenlit, and it's going to be uh, starting shooting, I think, in the fall, if I remember correctly. But we have a interview here with Margot Robbie, who is talking about how she wanted the Harley Quinn film to be R-rated. Ooh, I don't know about that, Margot. I don't know. She says, I pitched the idea of an R rated girl gang film, including Harley, because I was like, Harley needs friends. Harley loves interacting with people, so don't ever make her do a standalone film. She's got to be with other people. It should be a girl gang. I wasn't seeing enough girl gangs on screen, especially in the action space, so that was always a big part of it. All right, so let me stop right here. So I agree that I don't think just a solo Harley film work. You've got to have see Harley is a sidekick in total honesty. She works well when she has another character to bounce off of or many characters. She doesn't work well exactly by herself. I don't see that being that successful. But this probably is the right idea. A girl gang, probably not. Um, she's not wrong there. I don't think. I don't see why it would have to be R-rated though, because basically you want R-rated um, Harley Quinn, you should go see the Hell to Pay film, right? I didn't see that one. I seen a clip on YouTube where it's basically, I guess, Dr. Fate stripping, and I was like, yeah, no thanks, hard pass. So I imagine there is a market out there if you want to see that. You've already got it. And of course, the first Assault on Arkham, the first Suicide Squad animated feature, was not exactly a kiddie friendly affair either. I don't think it was quite as intense as the Hell to Pay, but all right. So she continues on here. And then, of course, having a female director to tell that story and giving a female director the chance to do big budget stuff. They always get, here's the tiny little film. I was like, I love action. I love action films. I'm a girl. What are we meant to only like a specific thing? So it was a hugely important to find that wasn't my mistake, by the way. That's the way it's written here. So blame whoever proofread this article. So it was a hugely important to find a female director for this, if possible. But at the end of the day, male, female, the best director gets the job, and Kathy was the best director. And then going on with, of course, that's that's the party line. I mean, it's it's sort of like only women can direct female starring films. Like Wonder Woman can only be directed by a woman. Black Widow can only be directed by a woman. Captain Marvel can only be directed by a woman. But she does say at the end there that basically male or female, the best director should get the job. So, I'm not going to complain. Finally, she wraps up here with, I know that they were exploring Gotham City Sirens with David Ayer, and I know they were exploring a Joker and Harley Quinn movie, and they were exploring doing I don't know what else. I wasn't a part of those. I was focusing on this. I kept presenting it to the studio until they felt it was at a point where they were ready to do it, and now we're all in. So apparently, this team up movie, or whatever ultimately it's going to be, is probably the next journey, the next stop on this journey of Harley Quinn with Margot Robbie. The long-awaited journey. How long has it been now since Suicide Squad? It feels like it's been 10 years, personally. But I'm glad to see that finally something is coming of this. The Suicide Squad 2 probably will be out before this, but this is, I guess, going to be the Birds of Prey film. Because the way she talked about Gotham City Sirens in sort of the past tense, that was something David Ayer was promoting. But this is something that she's promoting, another girl gang film, which apparently isn't going to be Gotham City Sirens, would probably be Birds of Prey, which I don't know really how that would work. Are they going to make her the antagonist? Because the Birds of Prey, of course, is usually Black Canary, Batgirl, and Huntress. Are they going to add Harley Quinn into that as sort of? I mean, I don't want them to force her into it, but if she's sort of the reluctant fourth wheel, so to speak, and they, need her for information and to try to get them where they need to be, that might be fun. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below about the Harley Quinn solo movie, which I guess is going to be Birds of Prey. This is probably where they're going to introduce Batgirl before the Batgirl movie, which is also on the table, so to speak, and slated for soon to be in production. So let me know what you think in the comments below about that. Okay. Next up, we have, let's go back to the 80s again here. We're going to talk about Cobra Kai Season 2. Yes, Cobra Kai has officially gotten a Season 2. And it's no surprise, to be totally honest with you, because this was set up to be multiple seasons. And you can tell that by the way they ended the first season. And you can also tell by the way the majority of us, myself included, did the YouTube Red free trial thing. And I'm sure most of you, like me, are going to cancel before the next billing cycle comes in, because I don't think they really have a whole lot to offer on YouTube Red. That might change, of course, and so they know this. YouTube Red is not stupid. Not too many people use their free trial of YouTube Red on whatever the other show they have is Impact. That's the other thing that they're trying to, sort of promote. But they want to give you a second season now that you're hooked, and now you're going to have to pay. Only the first season is free, my friends. And there has to be a second season in order for them to, make any money. So their money is really going to be made with this second season. And, of course, people are going to want to see the first season again, which I already seen a couple of the episodes again, some of the really good ones. It is a really good series. I'm really pleased with it, as I said in my spoiler review. And again, we're going to talk about it here now. So potential spoilers, just be wary if you haven't seen Cobra Kai. The possibilities we're going to talk about here may spoil it for you. But all right, so if you've seen Cobra Kai, as most of us have, the final scene shows John Kreese coming back into the Cobra Kai dojo for the first time in potentially decades. And Johnny Lawrence is there and is pretty much speechless like we are. And, what is going to happen there? What is going to happen in the future? Is Kreese going to take over the reins, try to foist the reins from Johnny? Because, of course, he really doesn't have a legal right to the name. Terry Silva does. He's the one that owns the Cobra Kai brand, which he is not, he wasn't in the first season. I don't know if he's going to take part in the second season. From what I've heard, Thomas Ian Griffith has not acted in several years. He, of course, is a black belt. He's a black belt in real life. So the karate, of course, will not be difficult for him to get back into. But, for this, would he return? That would be a lot of fun to see him return. We do have confirmation, though, at least from Sean Kanan, that Mike Barnes, bad boy Mike Barnes, will, in fact, be in Season 2. Now, this is exciting news because it shows that these guys that are running the show are not shying away from every aspect. That's kind of one of the things that's tough when you have a lesser appreciated part of the property that, especially when you leave on that note, you can't just pretend it didn't happen. You can't just entirely ignore it, but you got to embrace it and you got to make it your own. So according to Sean Kanan in an interview, which I can't show because, of course, that's from Getty Images or something, and they are very proprietorial about their material, but he's signing autographs outside of some function or something, and he's asked by fans about what he thought of Cobra Kai, and to paraphrase him, he really enjoyed it, and he says Mike Barnes will be in Season 2. Now, I'm not sure particularly if I knew, as I just said, that there was going to be a Season 2. I don't know if he was saying this in as much as he would love to do a Season 2 if asked, or if he let it slip out of the bag that he was already promised that Mike Barnes will be in Season 2. I tend to think it's the latter, but just taking this at face value, it could just mean that he wants to be in. But we have a fragment of an interview here I found with Hayden Schlossberg, who is one of the showrunners here. And when asked about season 2, he said, I think anything is possible in the world of, a series and that part of the history of our universe and our characters. We approached the show with really focusing in on that first season, but we do have a plan for multiple seasons and places we want to go. There's definitely characters from those original movies that we want to bring in, and that could happen in all sorts of different ways. Obviously, we don't want to spoil anything, but it's absolutely any character from this world is possible. All right, so nobody's really off limits as long as the actors are, alive and want to be part of the show. From what I've read, as I said before, I don't think Elizabeth Shue is interested. She really isn't that visible in the convention circuit. When I've seen Machio, Zabka, and Cove, doing these shows, these convention appearances. You never see Shue, you never see really anybody else attached to it. So I knew they were all in. But Elizabeth Shue, again, is a bigger actress now. Once she did Leaving Las Vegas, it kind of, even before that, she was cemented as a serious actress, quote unquote. But there was an interview with her, which I didn't save because I figured it really doesn't make any difference to read it word for word, where she essentially said she thinks that Allie should be part of Daniel's past and not necessarily something that he can interact with in the present day. So even if she doesn't come back, it's the way they handled it in the show was pretty satisfactory. And, because that's what happens in real life. You disconnect from people, and basically all you have is Facebook to pretty much know where they're at right now. Okay, so let me just focus for a second before we switch topics here on Bad Boy Barnes. What can they do with him going forward? As we know, the Cobra Kai was closed after this because Cobra Kai Dojo was blacklisted from ever entering in the All Valley tournament again, the under-18 All Valley tournament. So apparently that was sort of the death knell of Cobra Kai. Mike Barnes, he's a bad boy. See, that's, as I said on Twitter, Johnny never hit a girl, but he was the only one. Bad boy Mike Barnes, he hit, what was her name? I don't even remember her name. Jessica. Chosen hit Tamerlane Tomito's character there, Kumiko. So I have a feeling that there is going to be a confrontation. As I said in my review, I was kind of disappointed Daniel didn't see any action. I think if he does see any action, it'll probably be with Bad Boy Barnes. But I think the real action would be between Johnny and Barnes, because I think Kreese is going to probably try to maneuver Barnes to take over the Cobra Kai now that Johnny's built it back up. And what I can see happening, which would probably be pretty exciting, is a tentative alliance between Johnny and Daniel to take on Mike Barnes and Kreese. That would be pretty interesting. Of course, the show is Cobra Kai, and the show is predicated kind of on seeing Johnny and his teaching a new group of students. I don't know how far that will go if he gets superseded by Kreese taking over with Barnes. As far as some people suggested maybe Kumiko and Chosen could appear, I don't know about Chosen. I mean, he probably has been killed in a life and death match somewhere in Okinawa. I don't really know. They said that actor has come back to acting again recently, and so that it might be a possibility. But he was for real. I don't know that you put him on this show and it works unless they're going to really stretch the character. But Tamerlane Tomita has expressed some kind of interest in appearing. She said that she would love to be on the show with the chosen actor. I can't remember his name right now. So maybe they would get Kumiko back to do a cameo. We'll have to wait and see. But as I said also on Twitter, I forgot to mention in my review, I would love to see what happened to the other Cobra Kai boys. What happened to Tommy and Bobby and Dutch? Well, Dutch is probably doing 10 to 20 somewhere. I think he probably busted somebody's face open and is probably doing, a stretch for assault and battery or something. But apart from him, the rest of them are probably in circulation. I'd like to see what they think of what Johnny's doing in the Cobra Kai. Would be a lot of fun. So let me know what you think about what should season 2 be about for Cobra Kai. And hopefully, I don't know when it will be out, but since it's only 10 episodes for the first season, they could arguably get another season shot during the summer and probably release it by Christmas. That's if that's what they want to do. I don't know. If they want to stretch these out to a year at a time, that's kind of a long time to let the sort of let the excitement cool down. You know what I mean? You want to strike while the iron's hot, as they say. They probably should try to get another season out very soon, because this show really did capture a lot of fans. It really grabbed them, and we want to see the next season now. And I'm one of them. And again, as I said, this is the way you do the sequel series. This is the way you respect the characters. You know, some people are complaining, well, that maybe they made Daniel just a little bit too much of a jerk. But in a sense, he kind of had that streak in him. It wasn't really changing his character. It was just sort of saying that he had that streak in him that was brought back out once Johnny started coming around and he started getting focused on Johnny and the Cobra Kai. It's sort of like an old wound that didn't really heal. And he started off being very friendly and Daniel-esque fashion, where he was very amenable, if that's the word I'm looking for, with Johnny. But of course, these things need to be, there has to be some kind of conflict between them, I think, which is what they were trying to do. And in order for that to happen for two, like I said, middle-aged men, you have to sort of have some kind of obstacle that makes them not be buddies at this point, because Daniel was sort of trying to warm up to him as, well, let's bury the hatchet. And then, of course, Johnny had his own point of view on things about how the story ended in the film, the original film. So it was kind of a necessary thing that they still be adversaries. And that's kind of, if you don't like the way they sort of had to manipulate things a little bit to try to get there, that might be your problem. But I think most people think that it sort of worked. I mean, it worked pretty well, and there wasn't really any other way they could have done it. All right, but let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you want to see out of Cobra Kai Season 2? All right, and next up we have, let's take a look at our Star Wars plate. A lot on our plate for Star Wars, and we'll start off with the streaming service that I don't think it's named yet, that Disney is going to put in place, which is going to, just like Warner Brothers DC has got their own streaming service, and now YouTube Red's in on it. Everybody is going to, pretty soon, you're probably going to just do away with cable, and you're going to have $10 subscription services all over for all different kinds of programming. So Jon Favreau's Star Wars series has gotten a little bit of background info coming out. Now, Jon Favreau says that the Star Wars live-action TV series will take place 7 years after Return of the Jedi. So we've got a pretty cool era now to play in that hasn't been seen yet by any facet of Lucasfilm. We haven't seen this post Return of the Jedi, post when the movie came out in the late 80s. We didn't go into this territory, unless you want to call the Ewok movies post Return of the Jedi, which, I don't know, some people try to say they were actually pre-Return of the Jedi, which was kind of strange because Sindel taught Wicket how to speak, but that's neither here nor there. But there really wasn't any post-Return of the Jedi era material out there in Lucasfilm, in canon, in live action, or even in CGI. So this will be exciting. They say that it will feature all new characters utilizing the same sort of motion capture technology that he used in his live action adaptation of The Jungle Book, which is a great movie, by the way. Not better than the original, though. The original cartoon was much better. And so, yeah, this sounds interesting. It's going to feature all new characters, because what are you going to do? Who are you going to use? I mean, unless you want to use maybe Admiral Akbar, A Day in the Life of Akbar, or A Day in the Life of Nine Numb. I don't know, but there isn't too many characters post Return of the Jedi you can't bring Mark Hamill back unless you're going to spend a lot of money de-aging him to that point, I suppose. I don't know if that's what their interest is. I frankly would like to see that, but then again, of course, you still wouldn't have the other main characters probably be in it. So this is another one of those Rebels situations where we're going to play in the fringes of in between films, but you're really not going to see too much. As I said, like Rebels, they managed to sneak in a few cameos of characters, but you're not really going to see the mainstays, the stars of the show. It's just going to be sort of building up to, the long road to the episode 7, I guess. Which I don't know. All right, so he also indicated that half of the show has already been written. So this is going to have nothing to do with the George Lucas proposed show. Excuse me. Because Lucas already wrote, or he supervised the writing. I don't remember what, but he supervised the writing of the show. I think that was supposed to take place like a good 15 years ago now at this point. And no, it was about, was it 10 years ago? But in any event, that show is pretty much completely. We did a news roundup on that actually last year when they were letting out details of the Palpatine was going to be his rise to power, and his rise to the dark side, how he was taught, and why he turned to the dark side was supposed to be because of a woman rejecting him, utterly destroying him. At the time I said that sounded interesting, but it's probably for the best that they just left that stuff alone. All right, so let me know what you think. What do you think about the Star Wars live-action series helmed by Jon Favreau? Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Or are you just like me and just taking a wait-and-see approach? I mean, I don't think this could be as bad as Last Jedi and the sequel series that they've, pretty much botched from the beginning. But I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach. I don't really know what they have to offer that's really going to be that interesting post Return of the Jedi era. Will this be sort of the new Jedi Order rising? But then again, you kind of need Luke Skywalker for that. I think many suspected that maybe they would do an animated series that would take care of that storyline, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see. All right, and our final story of the evening, our final story goes to the long-awaited, rumored Kenobi, the movie, or as they will probably call it, Kenobi, a Star Wars story. Yeah, we're getting a rumored released date that they're shooting for. Apparently, the Kenobi movie is to shoot in spring of 2019 for a 2020 release, and pre-production on the movie is already set. So this has already been written and visualized, but we've had no word yet on it. I think Ewan McGregor slyly let it slip. Didn't he a few months ago when there was an interview and he was asked, is there any chance you'll be playing Obi-Wan? And he said something along the lines of, no, and if I did, I couldn't tell you. So this is like one of those situations where I think he probably has already been signed for quite a while, but they don't want to take the heat off of Solo and probably the episode 9, I guess, for next year. But I guess this is as good as a done deal now at this point, even though this is sort of just rumor. Fanta Tracks, I believe, is the name of the place that has broke the story, has said that this is the case where they are in active pre-production, and they didn't confirm anything about Ewan McGregor, but it's pretty much public knowledge that he has said on multiple occasions that he would like to come back to play Obi-Wan in a trilogy of Kenobi films. I was saying a solo, but that was kind of like a pun, but but not in a single one. But he's also expressed interest in a trilogy of Kenobi films, which would be very interesting. And again, one of the things that bothers me about this is, can they do this without ruining him? It's very easy to get excited about, the Kenobi solo story, the Kenobi film. But the problem is, if they ruined Luke Skywalker as bad as they did, in the Last Jedi, there's no way they could possibly, keep Kenobi completely unscathed from the same kind of fate. And so my fear is that Ewan, just read the script, buddy. Read the script before you sign on to anything. Before you sign the dotted line, read that script. That was the problem poor Mark Hamill had. He signed up with these people in Lucasfilm long before he was given a script and everything, and he did it sight unseen because he trusted that Lucas was going to be involved. He trusted that it wasn't going to be a guy with his head in the grass like, oh, that guy. But anyway, so it's just, it's just scary to see what could be done to this Kenobi film if it is not helmed by the right person. If it's helmed by Rian Johnson, we're all up the river. Oh boy. But I think, they say he's got his own saga films, or no, his own whatever spin-off films that he's going to be doing. Maybe they just want to give him that and let him leave everybody else alone, because don't let him anywhere near the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's the last one we have. He's our only hope. You want to see a good Star Wars film? Let's hope that it can be delivered by Ewan McGregor doing what Ewan McGregor did best, which was playing Obi-Wan Kenobi, bringing the gravitas of Sir Alec Guinness back to the Star Wars universe. And unfortunately, it just, it's something that we got to fear. I mean, that shouldn't even be in our minds, the fear, but, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. And trust me, there's a lot of fear in the Star Wars fandom now. There's a lot of fear, and either that fear will be assuaged with Solo, the Solo, a Star Wars story, or it is going to just get to a fevered pitch if that film fails. Now, already, since we're talking about this here, I wasn't really going to make this an issue, but they do have some early reviews coming out which are mixed. Some are saying it's very good. Some are just saying it's a fun diversion. Some are saying that it's terrible. But to be honest with you, all I want a Han Solo film to be is a fun diversion. That's pretty much all you can get from a Han Solo film, really. I don't think it's going to turn the world around. It's sort of the way episode 7 and 8 should have been. That should have been epic. A solo Star Wars film should not be epic. It should just be a fun little adventure. And that's what I expect. So I don't have Solo up on a pedestal. I am going in with very managed expectations. Again, as far as Kenobi is concerned, I just hope they do a decent story. I don't want this to be one of those where they're going to do like they did with Luke and make him be some crusty old hermit that's kind of bitter, and he ends up getting roped into some kind of dispute where he has to, whatever, save a Tuscan child or something. You know what I mean? I want this to be a grand epic story. This can't be nothing little. And maybe he gets off planet for a short time. Something that is going to be worth Ewan's time, worth our time. This has got to be something huge. It's got to be something epic. And so I really hope that they've got the right writers on this to try to get that done. And hopefully they do. I've also got a fragment of an old interview here from January where Liam Neeson is talking about the possibility of his making an appearance in the Kenobi Solo movie as a Force ghost. And in January, he said, Liam Neeson, "This is the first time I'm hearing of this. No one's been in touch with me. I know in the Star Wars world, anything is possible. In the first one, The Phantom Menace, I died, but we know, Jedi come back and stuff, but no one's been in touch. We'll see." So, again, maybe he's just playing coy and maybe they have reached out to him. I don't know. I find it very strange that he'll want to come back at this point. But then again, all people want to seem to come back in time. And maybe Liam Neeson's no different. But I don't know. He came back for the animated Clone Wars, but it was such a strange, I don't want to say bad blood, strange exiting of the franchise he did after The Phantom Menace, where he did not partake in any kind of capacity for episodes 2 and 3. To have him show up in Kenobi, maybe that would right that wrong. Again, I'm also hoping that Joel Edgerton returns as Uncle Owen in this film, and of course, Bonnie, I can't remember her name, but the one who played Baru. That would be a great chance to see them again. Because as I said before, my biggest problem with the Clone Wars, well, I have many, but one of the biggest problems is I don't think they focused on the animosity between Owen and Obi-Wan. So in the third movie, when he, in Revenge of the Sith, when he brings baby Luke to on Baru, and Owen is sort of like standoffish, we really didn't get that kind of, because of the poetic ending that it had to be. It was just going out on the score. But I would like to see how they interact with one another. That was something I was looking forward to all the years when I was, thinking about the prequels, and we never really got that. But we got a chance here. So let me know what you think. What do you think the Kenobi solo film should be about? Do you think there should be a Kenobi solo film? Do you think that we'll get Ewan McGregor and potentially Liam Neeson back in the film? Would you like to see Yoda come back maybe as a, I don't know, do they have the technology to communicate with one another? I don't know. I suppose they did, because didn't Yoda say to him, I'll teach you in your solitude or something how to commune with Qui-Gon? So maybe he can talk to him over the comm link or something. I don't know. So we might have Yoda in it as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And there you have it for another edition. Boy, that goes by fast, an hour already. But as they say, time and tide wait for no one. So don't tide in town or whatever. So as I said before, check out my link in the description below for the adventures of Bullet's Bourbon Private Eye. Make sure you click that like button. Make sure that you let me know that you're watching the show, because I could be doing it without a viewer and I'd still do it, but it would be nice to know that I've got a little fandom waiting in the wings there. And of course, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And let me know if you're interested in interacting with the show. I mean, if you have a show that you want to, take part in, maybe we'll see what we can do. And of course, make sure you check out my convention appearance next Saturday, a week from today, at the Peabody Institute Library on May the 10th. I almost got them mixed up. May the 19th, from 10 o'clock to 4. Until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.